I don't know about you, but 1 minute is extremely uncomfortable when you're waiting for somebody else to do something. I do this demonstration quite often with my staff because we have a 2-minute rule. You have to approach the table within 2 minutes. And anything longer than that is unacceptable. Some establishments have 3, some establishments have 5. Can you imagine waiting for 5 minutes for somebody else to do something? So throughout this presentation, what I'm asking you to do is to stop waiting, start doing it now, as it relates to green and sustainability. 87,840,000,000. What are we drinking out there? If you don't have anything to drink, find the nearest beverage around your floor and hold it up. This is the number. This is the number of bottles and cans that have wound up in incinerators, landfills, or just simply thrown and littered just this year, and the year is not over yet. To understand how big this number is, if you laid them end to end to be about 10 million miles, 400 times around the Earth, 20 times to the moon and back. It's crazy. People are starting to recycle less and eat beverages or drink beverages away from home more, and we're polluting the earth more. Every second that you waited for me to do something, another 10,000 of these bottles wound up in landfills, burned up, or just littered. That's 600,000 in the minute that I stood here. It's incomprehensible. You cannot imagine how big that number is. Sanchez, we were green when it was just a color. 16-year anniversary coming this fall. We started with composting, but because the city outlawed it when they made the incinerator, we had to stop. That's how backwards sometimes communities are. But for the past 8 years, we've been pushing hard. 45,000 pounds worth of recycled material is what we recycle per year now. We send 20 cubic yards of waste that would normally be burned in the incinerator, we now compost. Started in March. We were the first restaurant in Grand Rapids to do so. We've changed over to LED lighting, compact fluorescence, water reducers, you name it. What I can afford to do, I do. It does take money to go green, and we don't even like to say green at Sanchez. I'd like you to start thinking more about being responsible. The word green is kind of faddish right now. I've been doing this, like I said, 8 years, and I've never bragged about it, never said anything. I've done it because it's the right thing to do, and that's what I want you to think about. But customer perception is everything, and sales are tight, and people are starting to make a choice. Up to 29%, pushing 30% of customers will go to a green restaurant as opposed to going somewhere else. Those are numbers that I cannot ignore, and so we're going to start rolling out this fall for the first time some literature, started with this logo this summer on our organic cotton t-shirts, telling people what we're doing. All this information is hopefully going to be on your Blackboard. There's a little test that might be incorporated into your labs, tons of links, the PowerPoint, and just other things that you can do. Also, a outline of my strategic goals for 2008 at Sanchez to show you how that's put together, what we've done, what we're going to do. And finally, a little information flyer that you'll see starting to be put into full color. Right now it's just black and white, is also on there. Again, to give you an idea of where you come from and where you go. What we're going to be talking about in this presentation is reducing. So there are 3 R's. I'll get to those, but give me an R. No, that's a whole word. Just an R. Okay, there we go. What does it stand for? Okay, we'll get back to it, you guys. Okay, fine. We'll get back to it. any rate, we're going to reduce things. We're going to do solid waste through the 3 R's. We're going to do energy consumption reduction. We're going to do water consumption, contamination, and sanitary sewer flows. We're going to talk about that, how to reduce those. We're going to promote these and encourage these amongst each other, hopefully in the community, hopefully at home. And we're going to look at the waste reduction, the recycling, the composting programs, and get this information out to the public. You can't do it all at once. It's not easy going green. It really isn't. This little green goblin, he's got a little green paintbrush. He represents greenwashing. It was one step at a time for Sanchez. It took us 8 years, really, to go to this point. We started recycling and things about 8 years ago, and then slowly added all the other things that you can look at later. And you have to be sincere when you're doing this. You've got to do it for a purpose. For me, it was because I wanted to be responsible. I don't want to run a restaurant and contaminate the earth. And the figures that I'm going to show you coming up are absolutely staggering of what an average restaurant does to this earth. But you got to watch out for greenwashing, both so that you are not fake and both so that you're not taken by fake products. And that's what this guy is, Greenwashing Goblin. There's 6 sins about greenwashing. Almost 1,000 products do this sin when they are talking about being green. And that's hidden trade-off. Think about the Hummer. There was a recent advertisement on television. Did you know the Hummer was recyclable? It's made out of recycled materials. Really? Do we really care? You know, sure, there's some purposes for a Hummer. If you got the money and you can go off-roading and you're going to have some fun with it, absolutely, fantastic. Drive that Hummer. But to and from school or work, down the highway, no. It doesn't matter if it's recyclable. It is always going to be bad for the environment because it burns fossil fuels. Another one is BP, that logo that we saw down here. What do? Shout it out. Gas. How do they get that gas? They drill. Is there anything green, possibly, about drilling for oil and gas in a green fashion? No, there isn't. And yet, they want you to look at their logo and say, oh my God, what a beautiful green and yellow sunflower. That's the face that they're putting on. That's greenwashing. Oh, and what are they doing with the hundreds and billions of dollars that they made over the past few years with this gas going on? They want more money to drill for oil offshore or in the Alaska, reservation area. They are putting a little bit into green resources and green power, but not nearly proportionate like they should, not to be having a green logo. So that's a trade-off as well. Then you've got the no proof, foods that actually claim that they're certified organic or something like that, and they're not. Watch out for those. If you're going to buy organic, make sure it's organic. You also have the vagueness. Look out for these. They're prevalent in food service. Natural, chemical-free. Formaldehyde is a chemical, and it's a natural chemical. So I wouldn't want that in my food or anything that I'm touching, and yet if you say all natural, it can have formaldehyde in it. So these words mean nothing. Some others, all natural, non-toxic, environmentally friendly. It needs to be specific when it talks about these things. CFC-free, the sin of irrelevance. Who's got that can? Hold it up. Find it. Whirl, buttery goodness whirl. Makes your eggs slide off the pan. How many have used that stuff? Nobody? No breakfast cups? Oh, yeah, there's a couple. Okay. Take a look at the back of that. You've got this symbol that says no CFCs. Now, CFCs were ozone-eating chemical about 20 years ago. They've been outlawed for 20 years. They don't exist on the planet in a can. They're using other propellants. And yet, there are still companies out there that want you to think that they're green because they don't have any CFCs in them. Great. And then fibbing, out and out lie. If something says it's Green Seal or Energy Star, go online. There's links throughout this PowerPoint. You can investigate yourself. Oh, this is a great one. The lesser of two evils. I'm going to smoke, but if I'm going to smoke, I might as well smoke with tobacco that's been grown organically with no pesticides. So that way my cigarettes are healthy, right? No, again, there is no such thing as a healthy cigarette. We all know that. Unfortunately, it's addictive, but that doesn't help us at all. Same thing with GM saying that they have the most cars on the road that have 30 miles per gallon highway. That's fantastic. All that's saying is they're the biggest mediocre car manufacturer in the world. That's not green, right? All right. So relating to our industry, the average restaurant. So from here on, when I talk figures, keep in mind we're talking about an average restaurant. Sanchez, maybe a little bigger than average for Grand Rapids, but for the country, we're about average. $3 million a year in sales, about 2,000 people a week in guests, okay, average. We're going to talk about the environment and water. We're going to talk about energy. What are the two big energies that we use in a restaurant? And I'm talking about hospitality in general, too. It doesn't have to be restaurant. I know some of you may be in hotels, some of you may be in other avenues. We're talking about the hospitality restaurant in general. Remember, responsibility in that industry, not just restaurants. So, two biggest energy users? Electric and gas. Yeah, so we're going to touch on those quite a bit. Waste we want to reduce, and RRR. Let's try this one more time. Give me an R.
R.
What does it stand for?
Reduce.
You're getting there. Okay, I'll give you that one. Give me another R.
R.
Now, yeah, and what does it stand for? Reuse, okay. All right, I'm going to stop there. You guys are doing better than the last group. Nighttime labs must be smarter than the daytime labs. All right. Not that this is a competition. Okay, so we're going to talk about environment. What I want you to understand about this is everything we do has an impact, and we have to value everything we do, whether that's time, whether that's money, or whether it's a physical product that we have, because on this planet it is limited. Maybe someday we can go to Mars and mine there and bring it back, but right now you're a steward of what we have. Every single one of you. What is a steward? Somebody keeps things. So like Mike and Dale, they're our storeroom stewards, aren't they? They make sure the product's there when you need it. They make sure that it's fresh. They make sure that it's the right type. They're responsible for all that. Think of yourself as a steward for the earth. Everything that's on the earth. The earth is a limited supply. We can't get on the phone to Mars and say, listen, I'm running low on trees. Will you send me a case of trees, please? And what else was I? Oh, yeah, that's right. We're pretty much clean out of fossil fuels, and I need some of those to burn. And one more thing. God, what was that? I should have wrote it down. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're out of oxygen. Will you please send a whole pallet of oxygen? You can't do that, okay? There's no way. So you better take care of what you have. Down the drain, what's that going to be about? Water. How many gallons do we use in an average restaurant a year? Yeah. 800,000 gallons a year. How long would a normal household of 4 in Grand Rapids be able to live on water for that amount? Higher. 10 years. That's 10 years worth of water for a family of 4. How much do you personally use? What's your imprint? Click on this link, find out. Hot showers are the worst. We in America take too many hot showers. That doesn't mean that you can come to lab stinky and say, well, I'm just trying to save the environment. We're still going to send you home. All right. Energy. World's largest user of energy are restaurants and food service. The biggest. There's nothing else. 5 times per square foot more than any other industry out there. 5 times. And the worst part of it, and part of the reason for it, is we're inefficient. Think about that gas stove and the large stock pot, or even the small pot. Where are the flames going? They're just going up. So what are we heating? Air. Yeah. And then the air's heating up, and then what are we doing? Turn on the air conditioning. We're hot. Well, and we got this hot air. What else do we have to turn on? Hood. So we're going to pull all that hot air and dump it right back out in the environment. 80% of everything that we use is lost during food storage, food preparation, and I'm missing one. Uh-oh. Food storage, preparation. What else do we do with food? All right, thank you. Cooking. I don't know, one of those. I'm missing one. But bottom line is everything we do with food, whether we store it, cook it, use it, we're losing 80% of our energy. That's $8 billion. We use $10 billion a year. $8 billion of it goes right out into the air. Electricity. 500,000 kilowatt hours per year is what we use. Now, if that electricity is generated with the normal course of how we make fuel, like a coal-fired plant, we're talking about 6.5 tons of CO2. You know how much CO2 weighs? I mean, think of a bucket of CO2. You can't even measure it. 1 pound of CO2 is almost immeasurable. 2,000 pounds of CO2 times 6,400 is ridiculous. That's how much we dump into the atmosphere every year. Let's say we wanted to get rid of it. Look at a different perspective. We'd have to plant over 500,000 trees. 1 tree gets rid of about 48 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. So every year we'd have to plant 500,000 trees. Every year we'd have to take cars off the road to the tune of 11 million miles. That's just to compensate for what we as restaurateurs are doing. How much, this is the worst part of this whole thing, how much of the greenhouse gases are we as a food system that we're part of responsible for? Any guess?
72%.
See, now I got you paranoid. You're going way over the top. 33%, 1/3. It's still too much. 1/3 of all the greenhouse gases produced in the world are produced from the food system. That's the farming, the food getting it to us, it's the processing and getting it to us, it's us cooking it, us putting it to the customer. Too much. Gas. 2 billion BTU. Again, we're talking about average restaurant. All we're talking about is the average restaurant here. 2 million cubic feet of gas. Enough to heat a home for how long? 2,000 square foot home, by the way. Higher, just by 1. 16 years. It's enough gas to heat your home for 16 years, extremely comfortably. All right, waste. If you can see this, about 25 cubic yards of waste is produced per week from the average restaurant. Cubic yards, 3 foot, 3 foot, 3 feet, about. And usually it's a little more generous than that. If you ever ordered wood chips, a cubic yard, it's like, really? That's a cubic yard? It's big. Okay. So this is about what that is. If you look at this picture, that's about how much Sanchez produces in 1 week. Now the thing is, most of that is either compostable or recyclable, or we can just eliminate it before it even hits my restaurant. We have eliminated 95% of that. The waste that we produce that actually goes in the incinerator now can fit on the front end of that front end loader. 2 cubic yards, down from almost 25. And right now we're sending anywhere between 16 and 18 cubic yards to be composted. In excess of 150,000 pounds a year. Again, restaurants produce the most square foot, most trash of any business per square foot, per dollar, per anything. A breakdown, just so that I can show you why we can do what I'm going to challenge you to do. Plastics, most of them are recyclable except for some bags. Wooden yard waste, if you actually own your own property, all compostable. Food waste, all compostable. Glass, most of it recyclable, as long as it's not broken glassware and china plates. Metals, all recyclable. Miscellaneous, that's probably the part that's not. And then paper. Paper comes from organic life, trees. Therefore, it's either compostable, or if it's not contaminated, you can recycle it. This comes from a great new report online. I've got links to it. I've got the full report on Blackboard for you. Basically, we're always going to make trash. We're always going to have discards. But what we do with it or how much we make is our choice. Everything that you do in this business, you can make a choice, whether it's the size of packaging, the type of packaging, the product that you buy, or who you buy it from. You can change this. So what are our choices? First of all, if we just recycle, which is what we're focusing on here, folks, recycling. If everybody recycled just 90% of what they made, of everything that they make, like Sanchez does, then we could reduce our coal-fired plant in the United States by over 20%. You know, what you hear all the time, you're fed that there's not enough energy, not enough energy, not enough energy. We've got to drill. We've got to find more energy. We're too independent on foreign oil. We just have to change our habits, and we could have a huge surplus. Can you imagine how much energy 20 coal-fired power plants make? Basically a fifth of all electricity produced in the United States. All right, here we go. This is it. Give me an R.
R.
What does it stand for?
Reduce.
Give me another R.
R.
What does it stand for?
Reuse.
God, you're really lame, but you're getting there. Give me one more R.
R.
What does it stand for?
Recycle.
And that's what we're going for besides the other two. This is actually in the order, too, of what we're going to do as far as priority. First thing you want to do is reduce it. Next thing you want to do is reuse if you can't reduce it. And the final thing, if you absolutely have to make waste, recycle it. The last two, then we're composting the organic, and the last two, incineration and landfill, we want to avoid completely. The big thing here, I've been touting environment, making you feel guilty, telling you how much you're killing us. But what I want you to look at is the numbers as well, because that's the other reason we do it. It does cost money to be sustainable and be responsible, but you make it up. About 4% of waste can be, about 4% of your establishment is waste and can be eliminated. Take that example of Sanchez again, $3 million. 4% of $3 million, can you do the math real quick? 3 times 4, $120,000 a year. Okay? If you look at just the purchased food, if you talk about just 4% of the food, if my food costs are 33% and that's $1 million, what's 4% of $1 million? $40,000 a year. So I'm saving anywhere, depending on how you turn the numbers, between $40,000 and $120,000 a year. That is not chump change. That is going to retire early change. All right, reduce. Number 1. This is going to take the longest time to get through. A lot of bullet points, a lot of ideas. Not something you're going to be able to jump right out there and do right away, but you are going to have to start thinking about this, okay? So I'm going to go boom, 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 give you ideas. And then when you go back to your labs, hopefully, or your jobs, you're going to be like, why are we doing that? I can do different. I can do better. And this is why. Quantity, packaging, processing, before, during, and after. Basically, we're going to try to limit those or reduce those before they even hit us. And if we have to take them in, okay, during, and if they have to leave us, it'll be smaller. Waste reduced, distance traveled by local energy and water contamination. Reduce those all. Uh-oh, I'm going backwards. Can anybody tell me what that is? Chocolate! No, it's not chocolate. What? Hydroponic. Yeah. Excellent. You guys got a lot faster than the other group. You guys are tight. Yeah, it's a hydroponic tray, basically kind of like this that I stole from Chef Muse's lab. And what you do is you grow microgreens, herbs, whatever in there. And we actually get this from a local farmer, hydroponic grower. She comes every week and delivers a tray. The little microgreens are growing right in that tray. They are so cool and cute. And then we put it in our walk-in, and then we harvest it as we need it. And when we're done, she brings more. We give her the old tray, and she gives us a new tray. Now, what have we done? We reduced. We recycled the unit. She's reusing it, but we've eliminated 100% of the packaging coming into our place. It just disappears. We don't have to throw anything away. Smaller packaging. Why? Why does smaller packaging, what does that have to do with going green? Yeah, less material. When? When they make it. If you know the old C-fold paper towels that used to be all throughout this college, you'll notice they're gone. You ever seen a C-fold paper towel case? It's massive, and it doesn't weigh very much. It takes a lot of room on a semi, takes a lot of diesel, takes a lot of packaging to make. We're all on this now. Smaller package, more on a diesel truck, less cardboard box to hold it in, less trees, less logging trucks. I mean, you name it. Less pulp at the paper mill. Yeah. Then the other thing though is use air dryers. We're talking about that. Then it goes back to the coal-fired power plant. Then you got to do things to eliminate that. Go green energy, but that's better yet because then again you're eliminating the waste from even hitting your restaurant. Unbleached paper products, got a few out there. There's a few out there, but basically they're brown. They're ugly. Who cares? They function. They work just as well. They save chemicals. No, but why does that reduce? Well, because the chemicals got to be shipped on a truck. They got to be manufactured. Plus, they get in our groundwater with dioxins. Now, you got to watch. This is another one of those greenwashing things. Be careful. There's good and there's better. This is chlorine-free, but they're still bleached. It's all that Gordon's has in this particular line of napkin that Sanchez uses, unfortunately. But at least it's one step better. It's all we can get for now. They do make these, but they're like 5 times more expensive. It's one of those switches I have not been able to afford to do yet. Well, we'll get there, because I just went a little more green today. In fact, I installed about $600 worth of LED lights, which we'll get to. Specify products made from or packaged in. So in other words, take a look around and see what it is. Take a look at everything that's on your ground. In fact, take a look at that candy. Why did I choose that candy? I actually took a look at all the candy, and I wanted to give you candy. I wanted to talk about that, but I could only buy that one. Why? Anybody have any left? Take a look at the actual candy. The bag is trash. I couldn't get away from that because I didn't want open candy.
Can you recycle the wrappers?
Recycle the foil. Every other piece of candy came in paper, which here at the college we have to throw away right now because we're not recycling it. And it's going to have to go to the incinerator and be burned. The foil, you guys, if you've eaten that, better crinkle that up and put it in the right container that we talk about later. So you can make decisions in what you buy. So not only do you specify what type of food, you also specify the container. And you look, is there a recycle symbol on the bottom of that garlic? Is there a recycle symbol, on those products that you're buying? If not, you don't want it. Some of those lids out there don't have it. The other thing is switch to compostable materials if you go compost. And I got to tell you, pay attention to this. It's not happening right now, but we are shooting for by January to take this program to the next step and compost all our waste. It's going to be tricky. There's some hoops to jump through. But if we could do that, some of the colleges that brag about being green, one very close, which is wonderful, Kendall Culinary College in Chicago, we will jump right over them. Okay? So we're doing things in this program that are cutting edge, and they're difficult, and you've got to do the separation because last lab, they did a good job, but they got about 90%. I'm shooting for 95 or higher from this group. All right. The other thing is polylactic acid, PLA. Take a look again. Clear plastic. Find the clear plastic ones and take a look. Some have paper labels, some do not. Make sure, and the straws. Take a look at the straws, unwrap them. Get your hand, I don't care where you are in this room, get your hand on one of these clear plastic ones that say PLA or corn on it. If it says anything else, then it's not compostable. Okay? If it doesn't say PLA or corn, it's not compostable. Also, get your hands, pass them around, throw them at each other. I don't care, but I want everybody to touch them. See this, the two, that's fine. I've got to do something, right? Okay, look at this disposable ware. Another tripping stone or stepping stone or tripping something. There's some that feel satiny and smooth, okay? Just feel crazy smooth. And then the regular plastic that you're used to just feels like plastic. Pass those around. Everybody should get their hands on both of those. The one that's satiny smooth is called spudware. It's actually made out of potato starch. PLA is a thermoplastic, just like any other plastic, but it's made from organic material, so it can compost. It breaks down. So we're going to have to start separating that stuff come January. Potato starch. Carbohydrate, oil. Oil is oil. I'm backing up. But, starch converting into oil, and I don't know how it works. Bottom line is a thermoplastic. I don't know, but it does take more because they're more expensive. And it does affect our food chain, but we'll catch up. So there are decisions that you have to make when you do switch to some of these products. All right, eliminate bottled water. Why are we drilling or pumping water out of France and Italy and sticking it on a semi to bring it to a plant to be bottled using natural resources, to put it on a semi, to bring it to a port, to put it on a ship, to bring it to America, to put it on a port, to get it on a forklift, to put it on a van or a truck, to put it back in the storeroom, to put it back in a cooler, to keep it cold, and then get it back to a forklift, back to, your restaurant. I mean, on and on and on. What a waste. How much does a gallon of water cost when you get it out of the tap? Less than a penny. If you put a filter in your establishment, you're going to have just as safe water, just as good tasting water, and you're going to do a ton for the planet. Bottled water should be eliminated. And as far as safety, that argument doesn't hold because we've already contaminated our groundwater. The stuff we're pumping out of these natural springs are starting to be contaminated with prescription drugs, pesticides, fertilizers anyway, and our filtering doesn't necessarily get it out. So there's no advantage to bottled water whatsoever. Buy concentrates and bulks. Again, limiting packaging. Buy multi-purpose cleaners. You got less products, less packaging. Use green certified chemicals. Citrus cleaners for floors and grease are fantastic, and they biodegrade. Enzyme action, bacteria for drains rather than caustic Drano or liquid plumber. Organics. You can talk about organic food. You can talk about organic cloth or cotton. No matter what, though, you're eliminating those pesticides and fertilizers that we talk about, and that eliminates groundwater contamination. That eliminates trucking and making the chemicals. And not to mention the fact that organics, 65% of customers are buying organics now in some way. It's a $20 billion industry. It's raising or increasing 18% per year. So it's here to stay. So you might as well start looking at them and buying them. And the best part about organics is it used to be way, way higher than regular food. With everything that's going on, regular food is caught up to organics. There's such a small price difference now, you might as well go organic. Reduce your china and glassware breakage. They say that you replace 4% of your china and glassware every year. Well, that's huge, and that can be reduced. At Sanchez, we do about 1%. We got mats all around our dish areas. Mats anywhere there's a possibility of dropping things. We don't allow overstacking. We actually say, it's X high or X number of plates for stacking. Every glass has its own rack, and you can't stack more than 4 high. You've just got to think ahead. Put these things into action. Employees, permanent wear, mugs, cups for their drinks. Don't drink out of styrofoam. Don't drink out of plastic. Have them either bring in their own or supply them with a washable container. Eliminate plastic tasting spoons. Either use biodegradable, like a wooden spoon from an ice cream place, or use stainless and wash it. Rendering service for biodiesel, that's pretty standard. Distribute from behind the counter. I'm talking about disposables and condiments. People walk with way too much of that stuff. To this day, I go in my glove box or my wife's glove box, and there are just a ton of handy wipes from McDonald's. It's a throwback from when my kids were small and always needed cleaning up. Now, every once in a while, I still need one, and I'm like, I know where they are. And I reach in, and they're dry because they've been there literally for years. And I'm like, Lisa, my wife, stop. Just stop getting that. It doesn't do us any good anyway. Customers always take more than they need. We're a culture of excess. If they have to ask for it, though, they're only going to take what they need, not more. As little packaging as possible, logical, but think about it. We did something really silly and had sauces on the side. We're informal at Sanchez, but we were serving the sauces on the side in plastic ramekins. Why? Finally bought stainless steel ramekins this year. And it's just one of those things where somebody's not taking a look at what we're doing. It's just you get used to habits. Replace that stuff. And then during takeout, use recyclable takeout bags like that one we printed, organic cotton. You see a lot of it with Meyer. These things save a ton. And I'm going to ask you to humor me a little bit while I run through this PowerPoint presentation. We'll have a little moment of meditation and silence, and you can read it yourself. But this is extremely moving. Little ditty. That's a little song and dance. Kind of what I'm doing. If we have internet connection. Maybe. Maybe not. We do. It just takes a while. The college updated all our computers, so they run a lot better now. And we've got 2007. We got Vista. And we got internet. Yeah. Okay. So, seriously, read through this. If I go too fast, just hit it on Blackboard. The link is there. $1 trillion? Really? $1 trillion? Really? We couldn't even fathom what 86 billion was, let alone $1 trillion. Not cool. The type of wildlife on the left, those things die all the time from plastic bags. Last class didn't laugh either. I guess I got to stop saying it. This is an actual seashore in a foreign country. Ready to do something about plastic bags? All right. Local first. Why local first? I need a farmer from Washington State. Chris? Chris is a farmer from Washington State. I need a farmer from Michigan. All right. Why local first? This is a link to our local first. There's local first all over the place. They do wonderful things. They have a lot of good reasons to go local first. I'm going to go over just a few. Less packaging. Washington farmer. Oh, I forgot something. Grand Rapids restaurant. No, you got to be local. You're not local. You're almost local. Ship your apples to this Grand Rapids restaurant. Well, you're going to walk. Yeah, no, you can't. No, sit back down. You can't walk from Washington State to Grand Rapids. Let's make this box. It's going to take some energy to get it back there. It's going to take some energy to make it, but get that back so we can pack his apples. No. Again, you can't walk. There you go. You got it. You're getting there. All right. Sell your apples to the local restaurant. All right. Now, he just transferred that over, a lot less packaging. He's in a bag. He could even do a bushel basket and probably give the bushel basket right back to him and do the same thing with the hydroponics. You know, local farmers go to the farmer's market, bring your own bags, okay? So the restaurant just eliminated all the packaging, buying it local. Better service. You think this guy, how are those apples? Really darn good. I mean, they really are from Robinette's. It costs a fortune. But they are really good. It's a trade-off, okay? You got to make a decision. How about those apples? How are those? No, they were nasty. You didn't eat one. And not only that, I couldn't find that many Washington apples. They're from Chile. They're from New Zealand. They're from China. It was unreal. Okay? So he's getting rotten apples from here, at least just one, anyway. See? Isn't like that one's no good. See, what are you going to do with that? It's no good. You can't return it to Washington. He might be able to get credit from it from a distributor, but it's something he's got to worry about. The local here transaction, no worries. He's not going to give him a bad product. If he does, it's right there. Say, what are you doing? Give me that back. Okay? So better service. Less miles, that's obvious. These traveled a lot less than these. You didn't have all that oil burn in the truck. And here's the best part. More money stays What's he doing? Grabbing his wallet. Really? He's going to pull out money? You get your attention now. Everybody that was asleep now just woke up. You got to buy those apples. $10 to a local farmer, $10 to Washington farmer. Pass it back. Now, one of those has got to make it back to Chris to buy the apples. Now, if one of them disappears along the way, well, you got to pay the distributor. You got to pay for the gas. You got to pay for the packaging. That's what happens. So both of them better not make it to him. One of them needs to stay. One of them can't make it to him. There you go. All right. Okay? So that's the first thing. So if you notice what happened. Now, Chris and Corey go out to dinner. Local restaurant. Well, you don't need to spend all of it, just half of it. Yeah. Where you're going to go out to dinner? Go out to dinner.
We're going to Grand Rapids for dinner.
You're not going to Grand Rapids. You're going local. All right. So what just happened? The money stayed in the community. Yeah. And this is not too far from the truth. It not only stays in the community, but a lot of times when you buy things from people, they know who you are. They come right back to your restaurant. You actually get the money back that you spent on their product. All right. Energy reducing. Programmable thermostats. So simple, and people don't do it. If you lower their thermostat by 10 degrees or raise it, oh, that's yours. If you raise it, or raise it by 10 degrees while you're away for 8 hours a day, you can save 15% just by doing that. You don't even have to touch anything. It does all the work for you. If you program your thermostat below 78 for cooling, that can cost you 40%. Every degree above 68 for heating costs you 3%. Huge amount of money wasting and energy. I mean, restaurants wind up with their thermostats just blowing all the time. I've seen places, and it even happens in mine, I get so mad, where somebody turns that fan on. And I literally audit that. Every once in a while, I walk in the restaurant, it's like, how long has that fan been on? 24/7, it's just circulating air, and we're closed 8 hours a day. Why?
Do you take all the energy wasted out of it?
I wish I could. No, I just yell and scream a lot. All right. I'm sure all of you have seen these, but it's compact fluorescent. I'm sure all of you know that they're more efficient, but that's not the point. The point is how much. Same light, 75% cheaper for the compact fluorescent. In my restaurant, it'll save me $2,000 a year because they last me 10 years longer or 10 times longer. The next step is LED, and that's what I just did. I spent about $800 in LEDs, and we're installing them this week. These use only 10% of the energy of this and last 20 times longer. So while the upfront cost is there, in the long run, I'm going to pay for itself in 3 years, and after that, I'll be making even more than $2,000 a year in energy savings. I spend about $60,000 a year, sometimes 80, depending on where my gas and electric curve is, on energy. So if I can save 10% or more, it's a huge amount. And right now, my energy and gas was down 4% last year because of energy conservation methods that we're doing, and my electricity was down by 10%. Now, the thing is with the LEDs, this is the newfangled type for spotlights. How much do you think that thing costs? $50. Okay? And I can get a regular one for $1 maybe. But believe it or not, it's still worth it. It'll pay for itself in 3 years. And these last they're guaranteed for 10 years. And they can last for 20 years. So it's still worth it. And they got all kinds of shapes and sizes, different lighting sources out there for these LEDs now. Most of them are only available online. The LEDs contain silicone and other computer-type chemicals. So you have to dispose of them like you would a computer. The CFL is one of those trade-off green things that I talked about, kind of greenwashing, only the benefits are so big, and if they're taken care of right, it's okay. But they do include or can have mercury inside of them. So you can take them to Valley City Environmental for free, drop them off there, and other places have collection sites that you can take them to, but you have to take care of them right, otherwise you're going to be polluting the earth even more. All right, how many light bulbs, how many restaurants does it take? It's a silly joke, and I mess it up every time. How many restaurants does it take to turn on a light bulb? Okay, one light bulb for every 10 restaurants. You got that in your mind?
Okay.
In other words, there's 400 restaurants downtown. I only want 40 of them to change one light bulb. If everybody did that in the U.S., how much money do you think we'd save in a year? $3 million almost. That's just one bulb, 1 out of 10 restaurants. Imagine if we all did that. All right, energy. Who works at a breakfast place or opens up a restaurant? What's the very first thing you do when you go in? Turn the oven, turn the lights, hood fan. Then what do? Have a cigarette? Eat breakfast? Go prep in the back room while everything's heating up? A lot of times, most restaurants, the pattern is turn it on, do your prep, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours later, you're finally actually in production. That's how Sanchez saved 6% in our gas, just right there alone. You don't turn the hood fan on. You don't turn the stove and stuff on until you need it. Because the stuff nowadays only takes about 15, 20 minutes to heat up. Now, don't use this as an excuse when you're up at Art and Bev's and you forget to turn something on. You got 300 guests and your flat top's not on. You know, Chef Whitman's going to be a little bit upset. So you do have to plan ahead. You got to think. The other thing is, if it's off, keep it off. If it's off, unplug it. And this is a fascinating thing. Stand mixer. You use it 2 hours a day. And then other than that, it sits there plugged in. How much of its total energy is used up when you have it on for 2 hours? Of 100%, how much? 60%. The other 40% of its energy use is the electricity that is just wandering through the circuits and things like that. Now, every piece of equipment is different, but for the most part, it's 30 to 40%. I can't do a study like that at Sanchez, even though we do unplug everything that's not in use, but what I did do is I did it at home. Every piece of electronic equipment, toaster, microwave, you name it, coffee maker, computer, TV, stereo, is on a light switch, or we unplug it. My electricity this year dropped 30%. I'm in a 2,000 square foot home. It's not big, not small, but 4 bedrooms, wife, kids. And I have not had air conditioning, and we keep it at about 76. So we're a little bit below what I should be because my wife, I can't, sometimes it's a little rough there. Hot flashes and all. But at any rate, nobody out there has to worry about that, right? But my point is, though, we didn't spend much more than $60 a month. That's unheard of. I think our biggest bill when the real hot spell came through was about $80 a month, and we used to spend $120 to $150 a month. So it works. Very crazy. Ambient electricity, phantom power, you name it. I don't know exactly the technical terms, but it's there. Energy Star equipment, save 30%. Air curtains, shut your doors. Don't leave the walk-ins open. PM for all equipment. PM, what's PM? Periodic maintenance, somebody said it. Every 3 months, every month, whatever it takes, depending on how dirty your place is, you vacuum out your cooler coils because that can drain 30% of your energy. Make sure that the seals on your doors are fixed and clean. If there's gunk on them, they can't close. If they're torn, the air goes right through them. I've been in operations and seen, well, that's $150 per cooler to change those seals on that door. Well, yeah, you know what? You can lose $250 a year through a hole in a seal. Change the seal. Shut down underused refrigeration. See that a lot because it's one of those things where you use it and you don't use it. Use it, you don't use it. There's one in Chef Muse's kitchen right now. I'd love to see that thing shut down unplugged. There's, I think, 1 tray of food in it. Move it to the walk-in. Ask the chef. When you're in your classrooms, again, I'm challenging you to open your eyes and say, what can I eliminate? What can I change? Because some of us old farts, we don't see it. It's like that plastic souffle cup on that plate that's been there for 16 years, and just this year we're like, why are we throwing those away? Ask yourself that. Full dish racks takes just as much energy and water to run 1 fork as it does a whole dish rack full. Make sure they're full. And then the final, buying green energy. I'm really proud to say that as of this month, Sanchez will be using 50% offset in green energy. In other words, when we get our bill, we're going to pay about 10% more for half of the electricity we use, about 200,000 kilowatts. But that will come from wind power and off-gassing from methane landfills. Now, landfill gassing is not great, but at least we're keeping it from going in the atmosphere. It's not as sustainable, so I'd really like to see that go away and have more wind power, but at least it's a start. Methane gas destroys the global warming or makes global warming. It's a greenhouse gas. It's 23 times worse than carbon dioxide. So any methane that we can keep out of the atmosphere by going green power is way good. All right, water reduction. Stage thaw foods. Just plan ahead. 20 seconds. A gallon every 20 seconds is what a normal faucet dumps down the drain. So if you're thawing something for an hour, it's 200 gallons. 2 hours, 400 gallons. Cut it out. There's no reason for it. Not only that, but if you were to take it from your walk-in freezer and put it in your walk-in cooler, what happens? Besides it thawing out. Excellent, excellent foresight. Yeah, you're looking at the whole picture. If there's something frozen in a warmer space, it brings the temperature down. That means the refrigeration unit's not turning on as much and you're saving energy. So not only are you saving water, you're saving energy. Stage thaw, not underwater. Auto faucets, you'll see in the college. The college has done a lot of things. One of them you'll see, auto faucets, they save 70%. Low flow toilets, double button are best because you got, one button for one and one for two. But they save about $200 a year. Low flow aerators and sprayers have been replaced in all the labs, all the sinks, I think even college-wide. They save 40% of your water consumption. Here's the big one. This is one I want you to listen to if you haven't listened to anything else about water. Don't put anything down to garbage disposal. Garbage disposal should not exist. And in this industry, we are so used to that. Just get rid of them. They waste power. They dump way more than a faucet of water down the drain. It puts fats and foods into our water system. That causes us to use tons of chemicals to clean the water. It causes the energy to make the water, groundwater contamination. Energy to clean the water, groundwater contamination, you name it. It's bad all the way around. And the fats from the food tend to stick to the sides of the pipes. And cities spend literally millions of dollars a year going around and roto-rooting the big pipes to keep them clear. Scrape everything in a trash can. Everything goes in a trash can. If there's a little bit of particular waste, fine, spray it off. But there should be no big chunks. All right, on the reuse. So we've done reduce. That was the big one. Now we got reuse. What's the next one after reuse? Recycle. All right, good. Use cleanable, reusable items instead of disposable. So again, like that souffle cup, anywhere you look, ask yourself, why am I throwing this away? What is it that can be replaced so I don't have to throw this away? Oh, I got ahead of myself. Washable hats for kitchen. Now, we're probably not going to go there with the program, but in your own place, maybe you can switch from disposable hats to reusable hats. Coasters instead of napkins. Linens instead of paper. It may not be practical for your establishment. You have to decide as you go. Like Sanchez, I literally would not have enough room to do, we do 3 turns on a Saturday night, and I think we've got like 150 or 200 tables at this point. I wouldn't have enough room to have the linens to turn even once. I just don't. So I got to stick with paper, and it's our theme. So that's why if I do have to have paper, at least I'm buying no bleach, and I compost it. So at least, even though it's coming into my place, it's not leaving my place. And if it does leave my place, it's getting turned into dirt. I shouldn't say dirt, topsoil. Yeah. Big picture. If you are going to buy linen, absolutely. You need to go to your place and say, what kind of chemicals are you using? Are you reusing the water? Do you filter it? How is it being washed? Is it organic cotton on that tablecloth? What is the fiber? Yeah, if you go that way, you want to look at the big picture. Absolutely. Great question. Paper. How much of a resource do you use when you buy a case of apples? Do you take them half out and throw one case away? That would be silly, wouldn't it? So why aren't we printing on 2 sides of a piece of paper? Yeah, okay, fine, it's only 3 to 7 cents. But seriously, you're throwing away half the resource if you only print on one side. Cloth cleaning towels. This is pertinent in labs. Switch over from paper to cloth underneath that cutting board. There's no reason to use paper. Use the cloth. At the end of the day, rinse it off in your sanitation bucket, hang it over an empty bucket, let it dry. You come in the next morning, put it back in a sanitation bucket, put it back on your cutting board. If it gets contaminated with meat or fish or something like that, you will obviously do the right thing and get rid of it. But for the most part, side towels under cutting boards are not contaminated. All right, what do we got? Last R of that pyramid, remember? It's declining, unfortunately. We do a terrible job. When I say we, I mean the people residents do a terrible job of separation, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do a little recycling game eventually. Because if you contaminate recycling, a lot of it gets dumped. And so recycling has gone down quite a bit. And the consumables away from home, you drink that bottled water, there's no recycling around here. In Europe, God, everywhere you look, there's a place to put it, not here. So you wind up throwing it away because you're not going to put it back in your backpack or back in your car, drive it home, and then recycle it. And the other thing is the value of the dime, that demonstration at the very beginning, 87 billion. It's because the dime's worth about 2 cents. Back in the 80s or so, when you bought a pop and it was 50 cents, that dime was 20% of the product. Yeah, you're going to return it. Now, if you're paying $1, $1.20, sometimes $2 for a bottle, and it's a dime deposit, who really cares? That's just a quick graph. Our trash is just straight lining it nonstop, and our recycle is going down, dwindling down. Why do we do it? It only takes 5% of the energy to remake a can. Energy, clean air, water, landfill. It takes more people to recycle than it does to throw junk in a landfill, so it actually creates jobs. It's good for the economy, believe it or not. Composting. We're nearing the end here. This is actual facility in Zeeland that we visited. This is where our trash goes. Well, I don't want to call it trash. We've got to change the terminology. This is where our waste goes, and it isn't waste anymore. It gets dumped after it goes through about 90 days of being turned in these gigantic monster piles. You'd think it would be real high-tech. The high-tech composting is just a huge pile of trash that is just turned every few days across this gigantic property. And when it gets to the end of the line, when it's turned the last time, they load it in this truck. And it spits out the great topsoil to the left. It spits out the heavy stone and stuff to the right. And all the stuff that didn't break down comes out the back. That's what this is. A lot of it can just be put right back in to compost piles again because it's just wood and stuff that hasn't broken down, or it'll get made into wood chips. They vacuum off the plastic with a giant vacuum. There's a magnet in that truck that takes the little metal scraps out. And again, though, there's about 3 or 4 $7,000 stainless steel screens that separate the particular matter on that top there. We saw televisions come off of there, big chunks of steel, car parts, rocks, cement blocks, chunks of cement like come out of waste from a truck, a cement truck. Again, humans and residential composting that they have to do by law, we do a terrible job with it. So again, I'm asking you to not wait for somebody else to do it. If you're going to do it right. Why do we compost? Every one of us makes about 500 pounds of food waste a year, 11 million tons a year. 26 million tons a year. 11% of the food, 11% of the waste stream is food. And the worst part about that is since we are sending a lot to landfills, food is organic. Landfills are anaerobic. They don't have oxygen. So when something breaks down like that, it turns it into methane. And as I said, methane is 23 times worse than CO2. So we got to get this organic matter out of the waste stream. We got to compost it. The best thing, I told you, I've been talking a little bit about energy savings on electricity, water savings. This one is big too. 40% cheaper to do composting than landfill. Because they charge you. It costs money to burn trash. It costs money to dump it on land. So they charge you 40% more to haul it there. The worst part is you pay for one service like incineration, which is more expensive than landfill, which is way more expensive than compost. And the incinerator will fill up. They won't be able to take the trucks. And so the waste haul will dump it, or they'll do it on purpose, dump it in the landfill, and they'll pocket the difference. Yeah. Whereas that can't happen. So compared to, again, the average restaurant, I save about $400 a month because I am now composting. That pays for the new light bulbs. And now I can go more green, more green, more green. That's why it's been an 8-year journey. Okay, real quickly, because we're not composting yet, and I can't stress it enough, not yet. I just want to make sure that you understand organic versus inorganic. Organic is anything that was once alive. People get confused. Bones, fish, anything like that normally you wouldn't be able to throw in your garden, you can compost. If it was once alive, if it was a tree, a plant, anything, you can compost it. Then, one other thing is the PLA. Find a clear piece of plastic again, because once we start changing over, and again, look for PLA or that paper. The stuff out there that has a piece of paper on it, or that says PLA, polylactic acid, is made from corn, sugarcane, or bogus, or sugar beets, and that is biodegradable.
What if it got PL and then a number?
Probably PS in a number, or PP in a number.
I got PL 2.
If it's not PLA, usually there's a number 1 through 7. We'll get into that. We're going to get sidetracked. So at any rate, take a look at it. Again, feel that clear plastic. We probably will be having to switch to some of that stuff when we go to a composting program. So you have to delineate, and especially after we're done here, I want you to throw this stuff away. And this is where you're going to try to beat the other classes. Because like I said, they got maybe 90%, but then I had to dumpster dive and mix it all up and get it right. So I want you to fix this right the first time so I don't have to touch your trash. So take a look at those clear things and make sure that the recyclables go in the recycle and the PLA is not recyclable. It's compostable, goes in the trash can. I know, getting confusing. Okay, organic waste, what is not organic, inorganic. Metal, foil cans, glass, plastic, styrofoam, non-compostable, which is the plasticware that is not PLA. I know I'm losing you, don't worry about it. Chemicals, bleach, and diapers, things that are toxic. You can't compost that. Yeah, definitely toxic, and you don't want to be putting that in your topsoil. And then batteries. But keep in mind, just because we can't compost these things, what can we do to them? Recycle. Exactly. So where are we? What do we do now? GRCC, they're doing recycling, campus-wide. Batteries and cardboard as well, and office paper. Okay? They're having an energy reduction program with the lights. You might have noticed it might be a little hotter in here lately. Temperatures are raised. Green roof. Get the runoff from happening, stop the heat expansion of downtown, the hot spots, because there's now plants. You got wildlife there, and we might be able to use it as a learning tool as well. Sustainability courses, community projects. You can get a 2-year, 2+2 program. Go to Aquinas, get a 4-year degree after starting here in sustainability management. If you want to know more about their programs and what's going on, click on these links. All right, what are we going to do? Everything that I just talked about, waste reduction, energy conservation, local source and recycling, and future composting. And one thing that hopefully the Art and Bevs is doing already is switching to these. They're going to say dine in or take out. If somebody says dine in, the food will be on this. No more styrofoam. But if they say they're going to take out, it is still going to go into styrofoam. And what I want you to do, I said we're kind of going to be ambassadors, we're kind of going to be part of the community and getting the word out. Styrofoam, believe it or not, is the best choice right now. When you burn paper, you get all kinds of chemicals, and you get ash, and you get things that you can't deal with. And all our trash, remember what I said, goes where? Incinerator. It's the law. So when a carbon-based product, fossil fuel product goes and gets burned, and in those incinerators it's so hot, it's a complete burn, you get carbon dioxide and water. That's it. So it's better to have styrofoam at Art and Bevs right now than paper. It'd be better if we composted, so eventually our goal is to get rid of the styro. One more thing. I want you to pick up any styro that you see. And then try to find a clear thing that says PS number 6 on it.
I got it.
Yep. So find one that's clear and one that's foam. And take a look at that, because this is going to be confusing. These are 2 different products made from the same chemical. The polystyrene, the foam, the white, should not go into our recycle bins. Not. The clear, however, can go and be recycled.
This does not get recycled?
Exactly.
Why did they put a recycling bin?
Because through special programs, through DART, they have to have a special process. It can be, but not through regular recycling programs. So that's why it's confusing, and this is where the last class blew it the most. So, foam, trash. Clear, recycle. But just because it's clear doesn't mean it's recyclable either. You got to check out the symbol. If it's PLA, trash. Okay, so this is the recycle container. That's what we're looking for. Yeah? It will eventually be compost. But for now, we're not composting, so it has to be trash. Good question. All right, green sign, green can, recycled, mixed material. What is mixed material? Any type of foil, as long as it's not contaminated. You can't have bits of food and stuff like that. So the foil that's around here is not contaminated. That's recyclable. Cans, any kind of metal can, aluminum can, steel can, you name it, recycled. The tops should not be put inside. You do need to scrape well or clean it, spray it. You do not have to remove labels. You can leave the labels on. Glass, all colors. Keep it from being broken, please, because that's dangerous. And at the recycling center, it's dangerous for them as well. Only whole glass. And when I talk about glass, I'm talking about bottles and things like that, not china, okay? And especially not broken china. That doesn't fly. And then plastics 1 through 7, except what number?
6.
In what form? Foam, okay? Otherwise, 1 through 7 goes in the recycling bin. Do we need to separate all these different things I just talked about? No, they all go in the green bin. Lids off. Rinse and scrape well. Don't break the glass. If you need more cans, ask your lab chef. We'll get you more cans. All right. Yellow is still trash. Eventually, these yellow cans will be compost, but for now, it's everything else that we just talked about that wasn't recyclable goes in the yellow can. So if you look around down at your trash, decide where everything is going. Paper. The college is doing paper. Now, you will not see these blue cans around the labs. If you do happen to be around an area where you see a square blue can, you feel free to put your office paper in it. But if you put one piece of contaminated paper in there, a muffin paper that might have food on it, or a piece of food that has grease stain on it, contaminates the whole bin, and they will put it in the trash. So if you're going to use this system, use it right, because it really messes them up. Cardboard, flatten it out to the dock. We've always done that. Keep doing that. Who's got the pizza boxes? Hold those up. Open them up.
Contaminated, isn't it?
That is called post-consumer waste. So just because it's corrugated cardboard does not mean you can bring it to the recycled part. That would be compost or trash. And then batteries. There's a couple batteries out there. There are little containers throughout the college you can recycle your batteries. Oh, what the truck is this? That kind of throws the color system off. And this is where the other part of where the last class, the last group, really messed up, and I was blown away. What goes in here?
Cans only.
What else besides cans? But what do they have to be? Returnable. Yeah, they got to be returnable. So if you've got an iced tea in a can, or if you've got any of those other things that are not carbonated, they don't go in here. Okay? Only things that can be returnable. What do we gain from all this? What was the big thing? Money. This is going to save us money in the long run. Waste reduction. Money. Satisfied customers, because remember that 29%. We get the word out, and I tell you, we're going to get the word out. Not just Sanchez, but the heritage too. We want business in that heritage, and that's an avenue that we can use. And we're not going to use it because we're green riding the green wave. It's because we're going to be sincere about it. We're going to be actually doing it. We're going to team build. You guys got to police each other. I went through the labs today when I collected some of this stuff, and I'm sorry to say that I don't want the job of being the garbage police. I do that enough at Sanchez. We do a really good job. Every once in a while, things get confused. So you're going to police each other, yourselves. Make sure that what goes in the trash is trash, because we don't want to send something to be burned that doesn't have to. And make sure what's recycled is recyclable. All right? And then we're going to be part of the community, and we're going to mind our resources. We're going to be that steward I talked about. Sanchez is keeping over 6 million pounds of CO2 from the atmosphere every year now. And we can do way more than that here because this program is bigger than Sanchez. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. You can go online on Blackboard, check this out, check the links out. Sources are here. There's a lot there for you to check out. All right? Thank you very much.